Hi guys, me again. We're at week 4 and we are halfway there. I'm going to jump right into this. I'm trying to squeeze a lot in this week. We're talking about historical scholarship, the importance thereof. I'm going to do so through two sources that relate to my own dissertation topic, which is American progressivism and the influence of Marxism during the progressive era. The first source that I dug up from Oxford is by Robert Handy and with some editing done by Mark Noel and a couple others. It's called Protestant Theological Tensions and Political Styles in the Progressive Period. Basically, it's a chapter pulled from that book. They talk about the similarities and the commonalities of Protestants during the progressive era. I'm going to focus on the second half where it talks about the political progressivism and somewhat of the Protestant involvement. Basically, progressives in general, but definitely Protestant progressives believed in the redemptive agent, that they were the redemptive agents of the kingdom of God in America. Progressivism during this period became entrenched in both political parties. For example, Woodrow Wilson was a progressive Democrat, Theodore Roosevelt was a progressive Republican. Events like the social gospel, which a gentleman by the name of Rauschenbusch out of New York was highly influential. This brought about the whole modernism versus fundamentalism discussion. And a quote from this chapter, which really highlights what I'm looking for, is was by Walter Dean Burnham, and he said, "This movement is a remarkable mixture of contradictory elements, a striving for mass democracy on the one hand and corporatist technocratic elitism on the other." This is a reoccurring theme in historical narratives. There seems to be this confusion as to what progressivism truly was, or nobody really wants to say. This all becomes more apparent when you can understand the German roots of the progressive movement in general, especially the statist version of German Marxism, which would later become a version of National Socialism, mixed with a little bit of economic fascism. And then the American progressive movement begins to make sense, as most of the founders were either American Germans, and almost all were somehow educated or influenced in Germany during this period. My second source is by James Gregor. It's a book called Totalitarianism and Political Religion. Basically, Gregor is stating how totalitarianism is and became a religion during the late 19th and throughout the 20th century, especially the first half of the 20th century. And I'm going to focus in on where he talks about National Socialism, and he talks about how Wagner in Germany was able to bridge the gap between Hegel and Marx and Engels. From that would come this reform ideology, reforming humankind, society, and individuals and religion through the state. Also coming from this were the ideals of race theory, the Teutonics and Aryans. Woodrow Wilson was an adherent of that ideology, social Darwinism, and social science. The founders of the American progressive movement were almost unanimously educated in Germany, such as Richard T. Ely out of Wisconsin, or Rauschenbusch in the social gospel. He was a German American who had his prep school in Germany, and he shows that all these totalitarian ideals were very religious in their framework. Both of these sources will offer solid research and insights towards my own topic, which is American progressivism and the influence of Marxism. And historical scholarship is important in general, in my opinion, when it follows the aspects of empiricism, intellectual honesty, and proper use of sources and historical context towards historical arguments and writing. That's this week's discussion. I thank you guys, and I hope to see everybody next week.